Well, welcome, folks, to this edition of the 700 Club. President Trump may have been out of the country for the last several days, but he hasn't been out of the debate over tax reform. The president has been keeping in touch with Congress about their tax reform plans.
And the president will be talking to House Republicans Thursday before they vote on their tax bill. Jenna Browder brings us the story from Washington.
President Trump has been traveling in Asia for the past 2 weeks, but that hasn't kept him out of the tax reform debate here in Washington.
When you get the tax code right, where our local businesses can compete and win anywhere in the world, when Washington takes less of what you earn, the economy does grow and paychecks do grow.
Trump has spoken to House Ways and Means Chair Kevin Brady several times, and he's also been tweeting about congressional tax plans. I am proud of the Republican House and Senate for working so hard on cutting taxes. We're getting close. Now, how about ending the unfair and highly unpopular individual mandate in Obamacare and reducing taxes even further? Neither the House or Senate bills includes a repeal of the individual mandate, and adding it at this point might make passing a tax bill more difficult. Trump will also be personally involved when he meets with House Republicans on Thursday ahead of the vote on their tax reform bill. Brady says he's confident they'll have enough votes, and he disagrees with projections that millions of middle-class Americans would pay more if the House bill became law.
We're talking about an economy that grows paychecks in a way we haven't seen for really almost 2 decades, if you think about it. And that's what helps families the most. They're keeping more of what they earn. Their paychecks are finally growing. This economy's finally moving again. So, I firmly believe Americans are far better off under tax reform than they ever would sticking with this old, messed up, outdated tax code.
But Democrats say the legislation hurts the middle class and favors the rich and businesses.
Individuals lose the deductions, corporations do not. It is an assault on the middle-income families across our country who take pride in home ownership, and again, people who pay state and local taxes across the country.
Tax reform is a top priority for the president, who has had no major legislative achievements since taking office. Besides Brady, President Trump has also been speaking to Vice President Mike Pence almost daily about tax reform. The goal here is to get him up to speed so he's ready to go once he returns home. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
The count, as we mentioned on the show yesterday, is how many Republicans will fall off a vote in the House. These Republicans are from New York, New Jersey, California, Illinois, high-tax states. And the rest of us in low-tax states, those like in Virginia or Florida or Utah or wherever, are subsidizing these high tax. The politicians in these states are gouging their citizens for big, big money and the high taxes in these states. And so what essentially we're doing is subsidizing New York and New Jersey and California. It's just that simple. So Nancy Pelosi says, well, they're cutting the taxes and they're going to raise the taxes on those of us. Well, not really. It's only those few states. And the rest of the nation is saying, if you want to cut your taxes, by all means cut them, but we're not going to subsidize you anymore. And there seems to be universal acceptance of the fact that those taxes have got to be non-deductible. And if that's the case, it means that there's a huge amount of money that will be saved over the years, almost as much to pay for the tax cuts themselves. So it's a big deal. And a few other things have to do with mortgage interest, but I'm sure that's a negotiating point. So they are very, very close, and it looks like they are driving to get this thing passed by both houses by Thanksgiving, which is a daunting goal, but they can do it. In other news, Special Counsel Robert Mueller has been investigating the Trump campaign for months. Now, there may be another special counsel to investigate the Democrats. John Jessup has that.
That's right, Pat. Attorney General Jeff Sessions is leaving open the possibility of a special counsel being appointed to investigate the Clinton Foundation and an Obama-era uranium deal that ended up giving control of 20% of America's uranium supply to Russia. Senior federal prosecutors will look into the issue. Afterward, Sessions and Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein will decide if any new investigation should be opened. President Trump repeatedly has questioned publicly why the Justice Department and FBI have not investigated Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party. A Justice Department official says any investigation will be based on the law, not politics. Well, embattled Alabama Republican Senate candidate Roy Moore is denying the latest allegation against him. Tuesday, Beverly Young Nelson accused Roy of sexually attacking her in his car when she was only 16. Moore said the accusation is, quote, absolutely false and a political maneuver by his enemies. His wife spoke out in Moore's defense, calling him gentle and kind. Nelson is the latest woman to accuse Moore of sexual misconduct when they were teens. Even before Nelson's allegations came out, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell called on Moore to step aside, Pat saying he believes the women's claims.
Well, they never expected Roy Moore to win. He was a placeholder, if I can use that term, against somebody that McConnell and them didn't like. But this thing is a rush to judgment. I don't have any idea what the facts are. But everybody has condemned Judge Moore without any kind of a hearing, without any kind of a procedure to determine the truth of what these women are saying. But it's 40 years ago, for heaven's sakes. I mean, what kind of a thing is this? They say he was 34 years old, and there were some teenage girls, 16-year-old girls, and they now are coming forward years and years, decades later, to say, oh, by the way, he molested me. Who can prove that? I mean, what kind of a thing is this? And to ruin a man's reputation on the strength of something like this? I mean, maybe they're truthful, maybe they're not. But I think the Republican leadership in the Senate has been throwing him over the bus for a long time, and I think there's something wrong with that. They should withhold their comments until there's some kind of judicial determination as to whether there's truth in these women or not. And we don't know. We just don't know. But I think the senator is doing what, I mean, the judge is doing what he's supposed to do. He says, I want to stay and I want to fight. But the people of Alabama like a fighter, and he's a fighter. So we'll see what happens. But again, ladies and gentlemen, it is so easy to condemn. It is so easy to condemn somebody on the flimsiest of excuses. Now, it may be that Roy Moore did all these things that these people said, but even so, 40 years before, I mean, is that enough to ruin somebody?
I agree with your statement that I don't know how you prove these things 40 years later.
You can't. I mean,
so where does it go?
Well, if it's so bad, why didn't they complain 40 years ago, 20 years, 30 years, however many years?
Well, let me say this about that. I do think the climate in our country for women to come forward and claim something was not what it is today. And so they might have been fearful of the repercussions for themselves.
That's entirely possible. But I mean, he was 34 years old. I mean, he wasn't exactly an old guy. And so he liked teenagers. They call him a pedophile. I mean,
that's that would be considered underage.
Yeah, I mean, he's not exactly an old man. But we'll see what happens. But I think that, you know, a Senate seat's an important thing, and the Republicans hold on to the very slim majority in the Senate, and losing one or two senators is a major, major issue. And so Alabama is a solid red state. I mean, they'll vote Republican, but if they take this man out at the last minute, that means the Democrat probably wins. And that isn't something that anybody should want, or at least not anybody, but the Republicans certainly shouldn't want it. John?
Pat, turning overseas, Lebanon has become a key battlefield in the power struggle between Iran and Saudi Arabia in the Middle East. Prime Minister of Lebanon, Saad Hariri, recently resigned and went to Saudi Arabia, but now he says he's ready to return and change his decision if Hezbollah, backed by Iran, agrees to stay out of regional conflicts. As Chris Mitchell reports, Israel's prime minister warns Hariri's resignation is yet another sign Iran wants to dominate the Middle East.
When Israelis and Arabs, and it's all the Arabs and the Israelis, agree on one thing, people should pay attention. We should stop this Iranian takeover.
Netanyahu spoke to the BBC after Hariri resigned, saying he feared a possible assassination attempt. Hariri made his announcement from Saudi Arabia, a longtime U.S. ally spearheading the Arab world's campaign against Iran. He also accused Iran's powerful Lebanese proxy, Hezbollah, of taking over his country.
We have to admit, Lebanon is not a state. It's a unique creature which is run by Hezbollah, and Hezbollah is run by Iran. So at the end of the day, it's an Iranian tool in the Middle East.
Israeli Minister of Education Naftali Bennett told CBN News, when you look deep into the Middle East conflict, you see Iran pulling the strings.
Iran basically sending its arms, sort of like an octopus, and trying to create a regional domination and subjugate the various people there. And it's the big battle of this decade, at least, between radical Islam and rational players and Israel together. And we're fighting radical Islam.
Those rational players include Sunni nations, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the Gulf states. They see Shiite Iran influencing more countries.
What we're seeing is Iran is trying to create a regional hegemony from Tehran through Iraq, Syria, and ultimately Lebanon and the Mediterranean in order to create an empire, a Persian radical Islamic empire. This would be a threat not only to the region, not only to Saudi Arabia and Egypt and the rational players and, of course, Israel, but to the world. We will not let that happen.
Bennett also calls any provocation by Hezbollah in Lebanon an act of war.
That is tantamount to a declaration of war between the state of Lebanon and the state of Israel, and we will retaliate.
Bennett wants the U.S. to know Israel is on the front lines of this battle.
We're surrounded by hundreds of millions of radical Islamists who want to destroy not only Israel, but much of the world. So by strengthening Israel, in fact, we're strengthening the free world, because Israel is at the forefront of the battle between medieval Islam and modernity and the free world, and we will win.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thanks, Chris. Pat, Iran's influence is certainly growing throughout the region.
The moderate Arab states were just appalled at the Obama administration's embrace of those people in Iran. You know, they have declared that if they get a nuclear weapon, they will use it to destroy Israel. They have announced as their policy that they want to eliminate Israel from the face of the globe. They want to destroy Israel. They are not peace-loving people, no way. And, you know, they're Shias and they are Sunnis. And the Shias have a religion based on allegiance to, I think, a nephew of Muhammad, who they claim Ali was the rightful heir to the Prophet Muhammad. And the Sunnis occupy the largest group of people in the Arab world. The Shias are a minority, but they control Iran, and the Iranians, in turn, control Lebanon. Lebanon was a wonderful, free country. My wife's father started a paint factory there, and he lived there. They loved the Lebanese people. And we have had such friendships with Lebanese people. They had a situation where the Christians had the presidency, the Muslims, the Islamics had the premier, and they lived together in harmony. And then all of a sudden, the Palestinians moved in, started a civil war, and they've been fighting ever since. And now Hezbollah has come on. It's the most powerful. They've got a much more powerful army than the Lebanese army, which is a smaller group. And so the Israelis have a certain right to be fearful, and the Saudis don't like it. The Saudis are ready to go to war. They have scrambled their aircraft in the last few hours, and they are on a war footing because of what's happening in Yemen. The Houthi rebels are being supported by Iran. And they say, we're going to fight. Well, who are they going to fight? Are they ready to fight Iran? Well, that looks like where we're coming. But we alienated so many of our friends over there in Egypt and Saudi Arabia and et cetera by the embrace of that nuclear treaty we did with Iran, which was a phony deal. So anyhow, that's the situation, ladies and gentlemen, but they are very, very close to war right now. We're not talking about maybe, we're talking about soon, unless something happens to intervene. John?
Pat, here in Washington, and switching gears a bit, technology inspired by Disney and Pixar is bringing the Museum of the Bible to life. Ben Kennedy takes us inside a world of 3D interactive displays that gives visitors a glimpse back to the time of Jesus.
Right out the gate, even before you walk inside the Museum of the Bible, you're hit with technology. I know what you're thinking. This looks like something straight out of Star Trek, but it works pretty similar to the back checks you see at the airports. Once your items go inside and it gets the all clear, you're good to go. Once inside, your eyes are drawn to an awe-inspiring 140-foot digital canvas.
The idea is just to really set the tone when you walk into the museum.
And Jeff, right now we're looking at what appears to be stained glass windows.
Exactly.
Then it's time to pick up a tablet featuring cutting-edge technology, bringing the Bible to life.
You just simply place the device onto the table, and it will actually start a session to where they can personalize their tour experience.
So I gave it a try.
So if I wanted to go to Bible Now, it's on the second floor?
Yep, and you can add it to my tour.
Okay. Hit start my tour. And that's it?
That's it.
That's easy.
You just start walking.
The elevators are lined with digital screens that transport you to ancient Israel, and it may take some time to get there. We're here. Awesome. The tablet helps guide you to the world of Jesus, a journey that could make you hungry. I don't know about you, Jeff, but I am full.
Oh.
Let's go walk it off.
Let's do it.
All right, I'll help you out. Oh! Don't forget the guide.
Need that.
In all seriousness, you can use the tablet to make a restaurant reservation or even translate a sign.
You just simply tap this button here. It will then turn on the camera and use augmented reality to actually recognize that sign and then return the text of that sign into your language of choice.
The final stop is upstairs at the World Stage Theater, featuring 3D projection mapping.
And it will project on the ceiling, on the walls, the front proscenium, the front screen, the walls behind you.
What does that do for a viewer's experience?
Oh, it completely immerses you into the scene. What we're really trying to do is foster engagement with the content of the Bible. We're trying to activate learning and really open up access. And technology is just a really great way to do that.
The Museum of the Bible is already thinking about the what's next. In 2018, they plan to open up a virtual reality theater. How cool is that? For CBN News, I'm Ben Kennedy.
Thanks, Ben. Looks pretty amazing. Well, you can find out more about the new Museum of the Bible by going to cbnnews.com. We have special behind-the-scenes coverage leading to the museum's grand opening this Friday. Well, a group of hackers calling themselves shadow brokers have broken into the National Security Agency and taken the tools the U.S. has used to spy on other countries. The New York Times reports the theft has shaken the NSA to its core because the agency is supposed to be the world's leader in breaking into enemy computer networks. Yet it wasn't able to protect its own computers from enemy hackers. Former Defense Secretary Leon Panetta told the Times the leaks have been incredibly damaging to U.S. intelligence and cyber capabilities. Pat, it looks like yet another example of how cyber warfare is becoming the war of the future.
There's no question that, you know, an enemy can cripple your command and control of everything you're doing. So if you want to give a command to send your tanks into battle, if they've hacked it, it'll send them into the wrong battle, or it won't send them at all. So the airplanes won't fly, the tanks won't move, the ships won't sail. There's a horrible mess. And NSA was the leading cyber security outfit in the world. I mean, they prided themselves, they were #1 in the world. And now somebody has hacked them. Unbelievable. Well, at this time, I'm pleased to report that Regent University has acquired a standalone, state-of-the-art cyber range. It's a leading-edge training hub providing world-class cybersecurity simulation. And that's what it looks like when people go into that range. They can see hacks that are coming in from all over the world. They can see where the originating agency is and what the target is. And people can sit at tables, and whole groups of executives from a company can learn how to prepare their firm to counter cyber attacks. So it's a hot area. And I might add, the region now is offering a BS in cybersecurity, a BS in cyber and digital forensics, a Master of Science in cybersecurity, and also we have corporate security operations center training, a C-suite executive awareness, information security, all that at Regent University. So Regent is on the cutting edge of where the problems are in this world. Isn't that interesting?
A big problem. Big problem. So wonderful to be on the cutting edge of something.
NSA, I thought they ruled the world. They could take advantage of anybody.
I think they did too. I think this
They
is
are shocked. But, you know, if somebody can hack into your command and control systems in your army, you are dead in the water.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's very, very serious.